Hello, I'm Dazzling One. The last couple of weeks have been somewhat chaotic for me since I just started summer classes. However, since it's only one and I'm only taking chemistry, although it is a pretty rigorous class, I should be able to manage. I've also been informed that this channel's been having issues as far as error messages coming up when people are trying to subscribe, the video's not wanting to play on certain platforms despite the fact it tells me it can. Just all around, I believe YouTube is cracking down, especially on channels like these. And if it seems as if I neglected to get back to you on an inbox that you sent me or a comment, hang in there, I will get back to you. Also, I noticed that it's not just here, but it seems it likes to hold some comments as spam. And if I don't see it in time, I might not review it. It might look as if the comment was deleted. And some comments go missing for a time and then they come back up, which I find very suspicious. A couple of weeks back, I was asked if I can make a video on the names of God such as Yahweh, Yeshua, and so forth, and the differences and what exactly they mean, as well as the 9 code. And recently a question about hypnotism came up, and I want to address them all, and that is why next week I will try to make a video combining all 3 subjects in one. So for once, you will know what to look forward to, since I rarely even know what I'm going to do it on the subject. But I think all 3 will make an interesting compilation, to say the least. Before I get on with the topic of weather modification, I just want to say, for the last time, since I did a video a couple weeks back on human experimentation, a few people complained about me copying, or I guess if you want to view it from an academic angle, plagiarizing from other sources. I just want to set the record straight. Anytime I do a video on a heavily explored topic that requires a great deal of research, such as human experimentation or like today, weather modification, it is difficult to produce anything that's going to be 100% unique and original, since this stuff has been going on long before I was even born, and there's been plenty of great researchers and books written about these topics. And of course, I'm going to find a lot of my sources from websites and books, and I'm going to quote them, because that's what I do. I take information that I find, I analyze it, I decide what I think is true, what I don't think is true, and it's up to you, the viewer, to either throw out what I'm saying, keep some of it, and make up your own mind. And that is why anytime I'm doing a video where it's going to require a lot of information, the description box is going to be filled with sources, because I don't believe in not citing my sources, because I think you should be able to have the freedom to look it up and view it yourself and not just listen to me. And of course, if you have a problem with the way I'm presenting it or how I'm attaining it, rather than complaining, then you can just go watch someone else or don't listen at all. And I just want to make that clear for those who are anal about it, although most of the people complaining are just pure trolls anyways. The thought that weather can somehow be manipulated sounds like a piece out of a science fiction novel or movie. But it already has, and it currently is being. Most of you listening are familiar with HAARP, but just in case you are not, then I'm quickly going to fill you in on it. HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. It is a military defense project believed to be a joint effort between the U.S. Military and DARPA, which DARPA stands for Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Notice the symbolism in the name HAARP, just like what an angel is believed to play. I believe it's a nod to them, which really is just fallen angels, because I've talked about this in the past, that a lot of our technology, especially since Area 51, but Roswell, has actually increased or advanced. who most likely introduced the ideal. Many of the clouds we see in the sky are manufactured, and with the help of chemtrails it is easy to cover up what is truly going on up there. HAARP was established in 1993 by the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Navy, DARPA, and the University of Alaska, located outside of Gacona, Alaska. The facility houses a high-frequency or HF transmitter together with a phased array antenna to focus and direct the radiated RF power. Dr. Bernard Eastland is the scientist credited with the project, and it was patented in the year 1987, although some suggest it goes farther back and is inspired by a lot of Nikola Tesla's work, since this man was a genius and had a lot of knowledge on electricity. Even the European Union seemed to view it as a global concern. Oftentimes, it's believed that they're using electromagnetic energy as a primary source for a lot of this technology. Many people don't understand the electromagnetism is inherent in human anatomy and controls human physiology. Every time a muscle moves, there are electrical discharges. Brain waves are electrical. All the sensory information that moves through the body to the brain is electrical. Enzymes which keep the whole organism of the body informed about various aspects about itself are electrically influenced. Cell division is electrical. The signal for the body to initiate wound healing is electrical, and the heartbeat is electrical. And I just quoted from a website, and I just wanted to add to that. Not only is everything in our body basically triggered by an electrical response, as I stated in the ley lines and portals video, even what people say an aura is nothing more than the electromagnetic energy around the human body. We all have one. So do animals. This whole planet is run by electromagnetic energy. There's the electromagnetic spectrum. We have an electromagnetic force field around the Earth. Ley lines are a huge source of electromagnetic energy. So already when you're messing with that, you're getting into deep stuff. However, despite the suspicions, they identify themselves as a radio science research facility, and according to their website, they describe themselves as, this is HAARP's website I'm reading from. HAARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behaviors of the ionosphere, with particular emphasis on being able to understand and use it to enhance communications and surveillance systems for both civilian and defense purposes. Some well-known creations of HAARP are Ionosphere Research Instrument, IRI, a high-powered radio frequency transmitter facility operating in the high-frequency HF band. They have used it to excite a limited area of the ionosphere. Other instruments involved are VHF and UHF, radar, a fluxgate, magnetometer, a digisonde, an ionospheric sounding device, and an induction magnetometer used to study the physical process that occurs in the excited region of the sky. HAARP is designed to test the response of a patch of ionosphere at varying altitudes to the application of a few excitation in the high-frequency HF radio band. One known effect is the generation of extremely low-frequency ELF radio waves through modulated heating by turning the HAARP array off and on, or simply by wiggling the focal point around in a repetitive pattern, a procedure known as geometric modulation. The local ionospheric temperature rises and falls, changing the conductivity in that portion of the ionosphere at whatever frequency corresponds to the pattern. The frequencies are typically in the vicinity of a few hundred hertz. And HAARP is located where large natural electrical currents flow through the atmosphere. This auroral electrojet flows from the position of the sun at noon to the position of the sun at midnight in the north and south polar regions of the ionosphere. And once again, I just read from a website, but I wanted to give you all that information because rather than paraphrasing it, I'm just like, here you go. Many conspiracy theorists and skeptics of HAARP believe that it may play a crucial role in the future and now in fabricating false natural disasters such as earthquakes by manipulating the ionosphere by heating it over the tectonic plates and releasing pressure to trigger an earthquake, tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. Before I go on, I want to read some of the patent. Not all, since it's very long. So this is the abstract of it. A method and apparatus for altering at least one selected region which normally exists above the Earth's surface. The region is excited by electron cyclotron resonance heating to thereby increase its charged particle density. In one embodiment, circularly polarized electromagnetic radiation is transmitted upward in a direction substantially parallel to and along a field line, which extends through the region of plasma to be altered. The radiation is transmitted at a frequency which excites electron cyclotron resonance to heat and accelerate the charged particles. This increase in energy can cause ionization of neutral particles, which are then absorbed as part of the region, thereby increasing the charged particle density of the region. And the claim, a method for altering at least one region normally existing above the Earth's surface with electromagnetic radiation using naturally occurring and diverging magnetic field lines of the Earth, comprising and transmitting first electromagnetic radiation at a frequency between 20 and 700 or 7200 that's kilohertz from the Earth's surface. Said transmitting being conducted essentially at the onset of transmission substantially parallel to and along at least one of said field lines, adjusting the frequency of said first radiation to a value which will excite electron cyclotron resonance at an initial elevation at least 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface, whereby in the region in which said electron cyclotron resonance takes place, heating, further ionization, and movement of both charged and neutral particles is affected. Since cyclotron resonance excitation of said region is continued until the electron concentration of said region reaches a value of at least 10 sub 6 per cubic centimeters and has an ion energy at least 2. And I'm not going to keep reading. I had copied it all down, but I'm just going to leave it in the description box. But pretty much it's just describing how it sort of works and the claim behind it. And it's a lot of them, and it's a lot of it, it's going to sound the same. It's just like repeating it. It's just going over it in greater detail, but I'm going to move past that. Operation Popeye came before HAARP. It began as an ideal for means of defense during the Vietnam War. The objective was to flood supply routes of northern Vietnamese into northern Vietnam into southern Vietnam. Between 1949 and 1978, China Lake developed concept techniques in harbor that successfully used in hurricane abatement, fog control, and drought relief. One of the first attempts the military had at weather manipulation was cloud seeding by use of aircrafts, which in turn changes the amount of precipitation starting in the late 1960s. Project Popeye, oftentimes referred to as Operation Popeye, starting in Laos, was proposed by the Joint Chiefs Staff on September 17, 1966, is when it began. The aim of the project was to prolong the rainy seasons, to interfere with communication since it produced poor road conditions which crippled transportation because of cloud seeding. But because of interference from typhoons, they supposedly found it difficult to determine how much of it was a result of cloud seeding. And when it came to light, because of such criticism, of the attempt to modify weather, it came to an end. Of course, I believe that isn't truly the end of weather modification. In 1977, environmental modification, or ENMOD, on December 10, 1976, the United Nations General Assembly met and basically prohibited weather modification as a means of defense. However, HAARP clearly violates that, just as the Nuremberg Code was established, yet human testing still persists to this day. So what does this all have to do with what's going on now? Simple. Some believe massive calamities such as the earthquake in Japan back in 2011 were the result of HAARP, making the claim that if you look at the combined natural disaster card from the 1995 Illuminati card game, this incident, it described this incident. And not to mention, when it occurred, it also was in line with a nuclear accident, which happened all in one on March 11, 2011, which has the 1111 number going on. With this sort of technology in the hands of such ruthless individuals in power, this could pose a threat to the general population. Why? Because as I and many others have stated before, one of the main goals for the ruling elite is to reduce the population. Although I've done it in the past, I like to bring you some more quotes about reducing the population. An HBO personality, Bill Maher: I'm pro-choice. I'm for assisted suicide. I'm for regular suicide. I'm for whatever gets the freeway moving. That's what I'm for. It's too crowded. The planet is too crowded, and we need to promote death. And I guess that would have went well with the last video on death, because I say they want more people to die because they need more room and space. And of course, CNN founder Ted Turner is a quote. He also had a quote to do with population reduction. But I'm trying to see where it is. I don't know, I copied it, but I don't see it here. But he did make a population reduction quote. And, of course, Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger: all of our problems are the result of overbreeding among the working class. Auto world population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline from present levels would be ideal. So, I believe I mixed up the quotes, but you get the point. The ideal is that a few people that had a chance to voice their opinion on reducing the population clearly found it ideal, that whether it was assisted suicide or regular suicide, whatever, they're fine with it as long as we can get rid of especially the working class, which is the majority, at least, of this country. So the point is clear about the disdain for the threat they see as overpopulation. Returning to the ideal of weather modification, who's not to say some of the sinkholes that we are seeing today, or the increase in seismic activity and thunderstorms, is natural, or if it's a result of HAARP. I will be the first to say, although I clearly believe much of the weather today is fabricated, we do have naturally occurring weather as well. Just this past winter, a trend arose of burning snow after a few videos on YouTube were created about how the snow, especially after it snowed in the south, was turning black when people were burning it. And it wasn't melting. Some say it was fake and a misunderstanding of chemical change. I did try the experiment when it snowed here in the Midwest, and nothing happened as far as the snow turning black. It melted. So I'm a bit skeptical, but I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some fake snow going on in some areas while some of us are getting real snow. Because if you think about it, a smart move would be, rather than to make snow happen in the middle of nowhere, you want to mix real weather with fake weather. We're in tornado season right now. Here in the Midwest, there's a lot of tornadoes that come through. And so, yeah, some tornadoes are going to be real tornadoes because, yes, we're in tornado season, the fall and the spring. However, and then of course hurricane season's coming, is here now, I believe. But you're also going to have false ones as well. As for California, there are predictions, of course, that the San Andreas and the New Madrid fault line, well, San Andreas and California, New Madrid here in the bootleg of Missouri, are going to erupt. And just a couple of months back, I remember there were little quakes going on in the LA area because I remember it made the news. And, some people are concerned. I know it's a common theme, though, there that earthquakes commonly occur, but there are prophecies on California breaking off. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did, whether it was modified weather or real weather. Sinkholes are thought to occur naturally when acidic rainwater reaches to the bedrock, causing it to dissolve, creating cavities. And as this happens, if the soil on top begins to wear down, this produces what we know as sinkholes. Recently, there have been many sinkholes occurring. Some see this as completely natural, even while others see it as another form of modified weather. However, in the end, it is left up to question how many of the storms we are seeing are naturally occurring, because it does state in the Bible that when wickedness on earth increases, that we're going to see a lot more activity, just as a sign of the end times. Not to mention, as I stated in the Glimpse of the Marine Kingdom video, that sometimes natural disasters, especially occurring in this year, caused by these demons and fallen angels, and also witchcraft, because there are people that do have enough power in the occult to actually cause storms and things like that to happen. A couple scriptures pertaining to storms or natural disasters in the Bible. Psalms 82:5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. And I guess that's not really a natural disaster. Basically, when I think of all the foundations of the earth being out of course, simply seismic activity, earthquakes, and a lot of that is caused too just by the sin increasing on the earth. And then another one is, and there were voices and thunders and lightning. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And that was Revelation 16:18. And I believe that is on the day of the Lord. However, another interesting theory proposed to me about what is occurring with our weather is that something is moving closer to Earth, pulling on the Earth's gravity, causing the weather to change. After all, the moon does affect the tides here on Earth. And if you haven't already seen the Planetary Connection, where I get a little bit into some of that, when I talk about the day of the Lord, I believe that the luminaries will have a crucial role to play in the last days. Lastly, I just want to say that they've been trying to scare us for the longest time with the ideal of global warming, and how due to careless living, such as driving your car around and pollution, we are burning a hole in the ozone layer and so forth. And of course, eventually our sun is going to turn into a little white dwarf and we're going to go into another ice age. While I do believe we should try to keep our earth up and keep it in the best shape we can, this is nothing short of fear-mongering and one of the hugest money-making scams in history. Not to mention, if our climate is changing so rapidly, it could be due to HAARP, since they are constantly superheating the air and altering it. I know this time it was a little shorter than usual, which I'm kind of surprised. And I didn't go too deep into it because I'm not an expert. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And down below in the description box, there will be links to websites. There's a long list. You can check it out and see for yourself and learn further information about this. And this, like I said, was very condensed. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great week. And God bless.